And I have returned. I didn't vanish, poof. More technical difficulties, but I am back, and let's finish. I just have a few more minutes, and let's finish discussing this idea again here. An edict in destiny, Hermia says, that this is, it's all planned this way. It's all ordained. It's some sort of divine, there's this suggestion that it's divinely ordained this way. Again, we hear the word cross, and it's repeated again. Then let us teach our trial patience. It's a trial, it's a crucible. We should be patient. Patience is seen as a virtue, to suffer. It's the patience to suffer. That's a kind of frightening idea, isn't it? The idea that, as I said earlier, it's kind of, the idea of imposing suffering on others and saying that they should be patient and endure, that's sadistic. And the idea here of Hermia saying the suffering that's being imposed on her, and she's saying that she and Lysander, the suffering that's being imposed on them, that they should endure that. That's rather masochistic, isn't it? This idea of accepting the pain and the suffering that comes with it. And again, it's this idea that what's most important is true love and life and existence, not this tragic, pessimistic view that, oh no, it's suffering that matters, is of utmost importance, is of real value. But this idea of true love, this is projected value, isn't it? Not everybody believes in true love. Some people, as I've argued, certainly the realists will point out that love itself is biased and even worse, it can be exploitative, and it can enslave, and it can cause all kinds of genocidal horrors. And romantic love can cause all kinds of mayhem and confusion and pain and suffering, as we're going to see in this play. And we've seen the injuries on the battlefield. Theseus talks about, I won thy love doing the injuries, causing you harm and pain and suffering and killing and maiming and mutilating. So this idea here that it's patience, and look, because it is a customary cross, there again, that traditional Christian symbol, it's customary. Everybody does it. So it's kind of glib response. Look, everybody else suffers. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You can suffer too. You're supposed to suffer. It's what's expected of you in the name of love or in the name of faith. It's really a disturbing idea. Suffer. Suffer in the nursing home for 10 years with Alzheimer's because we say, you need to suffer. It's a trial. Just teach yourself a little bit of patience. Yeah, we'll impose that on you. In a sense, she's trying to impose her belief here on Lysander. Lysander's got the realistic view, and she's really projecting all kinds of value onto this thing of love and this thing of faith and this idea of suffering. Not really. It's something that needs, right? It's actually required of us. It's a test. We're being tested here. She's really trying to put a positive spin on it, isn't she? Quite disturbing, but she's been raised to believe, to be a believer, not only in her gods, but but also in not only in her faith in the gods, seeing this as a kind of trial or test that the gods are challenging her to test her to see if she is of true faith and is has true love for her God, but also if she has if this love for Lysander is true. It's a test to make sure that it's something that is worthy of lasting forever. Is their love for one another, is it worthy of a happy ending? Well, this is the test here, because it is a customary cross. as due to love as thoughts and dreams and sighs, wishes and tears, poor fancies, followers. Yeah, I mean, it's like love is the royal figure here. And all of her followers, all the thoughts are to be devoted to love. All the dreams that you hold, you should worship and bow before love. All the sighs, you should adore. I mean, it's this worshiping, and the heartache too that comes, the trials. And this is part of love too. It's all good. It's just part and parcel of the sighs that come with love. It's just a test. The wishes, the tears, the wishes, of course, are frustrations and pains of not having your wish. If you're wishing on a star, it's because you don't have your wish. So you're lacking in some way. And the tears, poor fancy's followers, poor love's followers. You could imagine a queen of love and all of her worshipers, all of the courtiers bowing before her, worshiping her. Or you could imagine a goddess of love, like Venus. Maybe she's referring here indirectly. This might be an allusion to the goddess of love, right? Because we have the followers, poor fancy's followers. Or it could be any god in general, couldn't it? The god of love, Cupid, Venus, Aphrodite, Eros. Eros, by the way, is the Greek word for desire, or lack, or want, or need, and it's particularly referring to sexual desire. Yes, sexual desire is especially painful. Poor fancy's followers, the poor, the underprivileged, they should bow, should kneel, should respect, should listen to the authority, the goddess of love. She knows all. She sees all. She's all powerful. You can't resist. All your thoughts are directed toward your wishes, your dreams. And it's all in your best interest. She's all loving too, isn't she? Because if you worship her in the end, if you bear that cross, you will find true love. So Hermia becomes this kind of cheerleader here. It's quite a pep talk. She's like a psychiatrist. You go before the psychiatrist. Many people go to the psychiatrist, they're broken. And what's the psychiatrist, people have lost their addictions and, they're just depressed and nothing interests or excites them anymore. And it's the psychiatrist's job to get that person addicted again. Back into the game. Get addicted to the game again. So she's saying then, don't you lose your addiction for love here, Lysander. You're going too dark. Remember, we're in a romantic comedy here. She's not really saying we're in a romantic comedy, but it's this idea here, right? Let's not go too far this way. And of course, Shakespeare can't go too far this way openly on the surface. He's got to do it in a disguised way, in a subtle way, in a nuanced way. It's got to be beneath the surface. You've got to be able to analyze and detect it. You're right, you've got to go under the water. Put your mask on, go under the water. Take your science kit, your biology, your marine biology kit with you. Go down. That's where you're going to find these sharks and these barracudas. And I don't know, whatever, there's other frightening things, these electric eels or whatever else might be. The ocean, underneath the ocean, is just a horror show. Everything feeding on everything else. And they're feeding on each other alive. It's just, I can't go there. My psychology can't handle it. But yeah, this is not, don't misunderstand me, Shakespeare is not openly writing a realistic tragedy. This is not his play King Lear, which is a realistic tragedy, and most everybody says it's a realistic tragedy. No. And that's why King Lear, by the way, is, most scholars would argue it's his greatest play, because it is so firmly rooted in this realistic view and this tragic plotline. It's his least popular of the four great tragedies he wrote: Macbeth, Othello, Hamlet, and King Lear. The other, of course, there's this romantic element introduced into these tragedies, but not in King Lear. A few times there's an attempt to introduce it, but it's just crushed, steamrolled right over. So yeah, we have, we're not, Shakespeare can't go directly and show us, the direct horrors here. And it's like a Greek tragedy in a sense. Maybe another reason this idea came to Shakespeare, it's taking place in ancient Athens, ancient Greece, and the ancient Greek tragedies, all of the violence, all of the death, all of the horror in an ancient Greek tragedy happens off stage. You don't witness it. And all of the horrors in this play, there are a few places where there are very disturbing scenes, but anything bloody and awful and horrible, deaths, lots of deaths in this play. By the way, that would be a great essay, Deaths in A Midsummer Night's Dream, because this play is soaked in death, in blood. It's everywhere in the background stories. We see it on the next page. Look at page 1343. When Hermia is swearing that she will be true to Lysander, she swears at line 174. She swears by that fire which burned the Carthage queen when the false Trojan under sail was seen. And this, of course, is a direct reference. Remember, an allusion is an indirect reference. This is a direct reference. The Carthage queen, Dido, and she and Aeneas, they were lovers, Aeneas being the Trojan warrior who's off sailing to Rome to found the city of Rome. And of course, Aeneas had promised eternal devotion to Dido, that his was a true love and that he would forever remain by her side and forever love her. But the gods call upon him to sail off and to found the city of Rome. And so he deserts his queen. He leaves in the middle of the night. And when she sees her lover deserting her, something of more importance, there's something more important to Aeneas than his love for Dido. When she sees her lover sailing away, deserting her in the middle of the night, she takes all of his belongings, because he flees quickly. He, secretes himself away and flees the scene. She takes all of his belongings, builds a huge pile, and then she climbs to the top of the pile and has the pile lit by her slaves. And as the flames grow higher and higher and begin licking at her feet, she screams out in agony, and she takes his sword and plunges it into her heart. Her willingness to die for love. This romantic view. If you can't have love, there's no. If you can't have your true, and her true lover has deserted her, then there's nothing left to live for. That's a romantic view here, and that brutal, horrific, really gruesome image, it's off stage. It's referenced here. It's another one of these love stories, that these legends, that these young people, Lysander and Hermia and Helena and Demetrius, they've been raised on these stories, just like we've been raised on Star Wars and The Wizard of Oz and Cinderella. And they bought into these stories. They're children. They can't see. They're believing what the culture is telling them. And they just grow up to be adults who are still children and can't put away their toys, be rational. It's too painful to give up your happy ever after ending. It's too rational to let go of this idea that this story ain't about you. It just ain't. There are more characters in this play. You're just a bit player on the stage. You're not the star. You're not the star on the stage. But a romantic sees himself as in the spotlight. And the tragic pessimist says, no, you're just a bit player. And human beings, they're just a small percentage of the players on the stage. There are 7 billion of us, yes, but compared to all the other feeling organisms on the planet, we're just a very small percentage of all the real players on the stage, because all the real players on the stage can suffer just like human beings can. A brain in pain is a brain in pain. So that would make an interesting topic, wouldn't it? Death in A Midsummer Night's Dream. Even the title works, doesn't it? Death in A Midsummer Night's Dream. Because there is quite a bit of death that occurs in this play off stage. Quite a bit of ugliness. Not easy deaths, but rather long, slow, painful, disturbing deaths, like the queen, like the Carthage queen died of. Look that up on the Wikipedia. Start paying attention to the allusions and the direct references to these lovers in the background. As part of the setting, the romantic view is being undercut again by what really happens to these lovers in Greek mythology and Roman mythology. What really happens to the lovers? Not the happy ending, but not the happy ending in the comic plot line, but the tragic, pessimistic ending, the catastrophe. That's what's always, you hear the chorus in the background. You can really hear that chorus. The Greek chorus. Remember the ancient Greece, they had the Greek chorus. You can hear the chorus in the background. All the Greek lovers, all the ancient Greek lovers, and all the ancient Roman lovers, they're in the background, standing there, singing. They're lamenting. They're lamenting the idea that this is not the comic plot line. The comic optimist is deluded. This is not the reality, and you can hear the woe in the voices of the Greek chorus, the Greek lovers, the ancient Roman lovers in the background. That would make a really good essay. Just thought of that. You could take just look at 3 stories. 3 stories, 3 Greek lovers, 3 ancient Greek lovers, 3 ancient Roman, or a combination, 3 ancient Roman lovers, or a combination thereof. And you could look at these stories and you could question, what are these stories doing? Why are they part of the setting? And why are they in the background? How is that? Do you see that? Because I would argue that that's part of Shakespeare's presentation here of what he's saying here. It's part of this idea that that's what this play is about. It's a realistic tragedy. So I have given you, and I've taken quite a bit of time to do it, but this is a 5-hour lecture class, so at any rate, if you get tired of listening to lecture, just click it off. You have that option. I've given you 3 problems that lovers confront in this play. We've looked at this idea of the true nature of true love. Where else in the play do you see Shakespeare ironizing, undermining this notion that true love is this mystical, magical, mysterious, awesome emotion? Where do you see him saying, no, it's biology, no, it's biology, it's sex, no, it's psychology, it's ego, no, it's culture, it's brainwashing? Where do you see him saying, this is what this word that many people worship and revere, it's their God, isn't it? They worship and revere the God of love. And what is Shakespeare saying? What is it really, and what does it really lead to? What kinds of harms, disturbing behaviors, recklessness, violence, aggression, destruction? How dangerous is this emotion that we worship so? That's rather frightening, isn't it? So you could think about that. Where else in the play do you see this happening? Then I've given you a second, and here in Act 1, I've given you a second problem, and this too is a disturbing problem. The problem of knowing the other mind. This is particularly disturbing for romantic lovers, isn't it? They believe that, this is my soulmate. But we see this in the play that no, we don't. Shakespeare's saying this isn't true. We don't have access into our lovers' brains. We can't know what they're thinking or feeling. We can't ever truly know, can we? Think about it. If you currently have a honey bunny, one day you roll over in bed and you're going to wonder, I wonder if honey bunny really still loves me. Love. We'll put that in quote to ironize that word. Can you really know? Maybe he's just or she's just got comfortable with you. A bit of security now. I mean, it's really frightening. You can even think. You can ask Honey Bunny, you may begin to suspect, you turn to Honey Bunny, do you still love me? Is it true love, really? And Honey Bunny says, oh, yes, of course. I swear, honey. You, it's only you. It's only you. And then you might ask, well, why then, when we made love last night, at the moment of orgasm, did you cry out, Angelina Jolie? Yeah, this problem of knowing the other mind. What's going on in the head of Honey Bunny during sex? Who's Honey Bunny thinking about? And can you ever know? Honey Bunny could say, yes, it's you, baby. I'm thinking about you. Honey Bunny could be lying. Or Honey could be saying, yeah, I am thinking about it. I am. And he could be telling the truth, but you just don't believe Honey Bunny. You just don't believe her. Why'd you call out Brad Pitt's name? At any rate. And then finally, I've given you a third troubling feature concerning romantic love in A Midsummer Night's Dream. And that is this idea of external obstacles. And they come in all forms, all shapes and sizes. Some of them are fire-breathing dragons, and some of them are crocodiles, and some of them are great white sharks, and some of them are saber-toothed tigers. I mean, the jaws of darkness that devour up true love, and always there, at any moment, like a clap of thunder, a flash of lightning, a swift shadow that passed, the shadow of death, can happen at any moment. You're not vulnerable. Honey Bunny's not vulnerable. And some people are actually purposefully out in the world. There are some dragons purposefully trying to break you and Honey Bunny apart. Right? Some fathers even. Daddy. Some friends. Your best friends. Who knows where that next, who knows where, from which angle, which direction, what next dragon. It's like the video games. Where's the next dragon coming? I remember playing Pac-Man in my youth. You know, those little ghost figures representing death. You lose. The ghost, death gets you. You lose. Yeah, the ghost gets your Honey Bunny. Or you. You and Honey Bunny lose. So I'm giving you these three reasons for this thesis we're currently looking at. We're exploring this theme of this dark, realistic, tragic, pessimistic view of romantic love, which we've seen romantic desire. Desire and love, Shakespeare's saying, which is it? Is it need and want and pain and suffering, or is it something special and true with a happy ending? Right? Is it a carrot, a true carrot, true love, or is it just a whip constantly hunting you down, chasing you down? And those moments you might have where the whip stops, that feels, those orgasmic moments, yeah, true love. But then the whip starts again. It returns. Were you thinking about me when we just made love? Yeah. You can see the whip coming out again. And notice as you do this, as you go through the play, pick a passage and then look carefully at that passage. Think about what we've been talking about, these concepts. Think about being the scientist, zero in on a word or a phrase or an image the way I've done, a metaphor, an allusion or a direct reference. Think about a simile. Look at a symbol. Think about irony. Be that detective, that scientist, and then become that philosopher and say, this symbol, this is how it links to this idea, this X on the board. This image, this is why this image is in the play. It links to this on the board. Explain how it links. Be the philosopher. 1 + 1 = 2. You got the one, you got the symbol, and you got the one, you got the image. Put them together. 1 + 1, like a philosopher, = 2. The realistic, tragic depiction of love in A Midsummer Night's Dream. That's your 2 in the formula, in the mathematical equation. Your 2 is, if you're choosing option A, it's the realistic, tragic depiction of love in A Midsummer Night's Dream. That's what the play is showing. That's the interpretation I'm offering, and you're welcome to agree with that and write on that. That becomes the thesis of your essay. That's the theme we're exploring in the play. That's the 2 in the formula. Now I'm asking you, be a scientist. It's not hard. It's 1 + 1 = 2. It's not hard. Magical number. Find 3 problems. I've just given you 3. You can begin tonight. Go through the play. Use some of the passage I've used. That's fine. Those training wheels, just take them off. I'm right there by your side. I'll be happy to help you on that. Go through. Look at the passage. Be the scientist. Find an image. Find a word. Find a symbol. Tell me it. There's an image. There's a symbol. There's a word. There's an irony. State that. That's the scientist in you. Now add it and say, that image and that symbol, this suggests, it all goes back. It underscores this particular problem, the problem of the other mind, or the problem of the true nature of love, or the problem of external obstacles. This image, this symbol, equals my thesis, my theme. Like the philosopher, put those facts together, and you answer your 4 questions. You write your thesis out. What are you writing about, Brussels sprout? That's your topic. What do you think, tiddlywink? That's your opinion. Support your opinion. You ain't entitled to it, to respect. You ain't entitled to anybody respecting your opinion unless you can offer reasons to support it. Give me 1, 2, or 3 reasons. 1, 2, or 3 problems. I've given you 3 today. Take 3 reasons and state those reasons. Tell me why pudding pie. And then from the show me state, ask your 4th question. Go to the text. Get the scientific proof. What do you mean jelly bean? The scientific proof and the philosophical logic. And show how it adds up to 2. The tragic, realistic, pessimistic, however you want to phrase it, dark, disturbing, ugly side of romantic desire, romantic love. You write that out in a sentence. Get that in your head tonight. That's your first homework assignment. Write it out. Get it in your head. Write these reasons down. Start exploring. Get working. Get cracking. You hear that whip? You in pain, baby. Until you get cracking and write this essay, that whip's going to be at your back. And when that whip's taken away, you're going to think that's a genuine pleasure. No. It's just that the pain was taken away. You couldn't experience that pleasure of finishing your essay if you never had an essay to write to begin with. Big on before somebody drops a house on you.